Financial argument. Follow us on YouTube.
Welcome back, Reluctant Preppers. We have a returning guest, expert Bill Murphy, co-founder of Gata.org and guru on price manipulation in the gold and silver markets, is back with us here on Reluctant Preppers to give us insight into what is going on with recent and forward price action in the precious metals. Welcome back to Reluctant Preppers, Bill.
Great to be here, Donegan. Thank you.
It's hard to avoid seeing that gold and silver have been rebounding off of some recent support levels and retesting recent highs in the last couple of days. Even the finish of the week has been strong. You look at both of them closing pretty strong. Can you talk to us about what you're seeing on the gold and silver price strength and market action, and what insight you're seeing from that?
And I can probably talk too much, but it's been an incredible last 2 weeks. It was just 2 weeks ago that gold was at 1,200, and we got that dismal U.S. jobs report, and the price just took off, went straight up, and then took out 1,300, blew through it on Friday, and everything was going spectacularly well, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the gold cartel, the plunge protection crowd, did what they usually do, floated talk about the Brexit issue being canceled, and then about the bookies showing that 60% odds that it would fail. And this is what they do. They just flood the market with information and they attack. They've been doing this in the stock market in the last hour of trading for a decade. And they did it again with gold and silver, with gold now flying above their protected 1,300. The gold cartel, as we call it, is in big trouble, the bullion banks and U.S. government in preventing gold from going up. And on the most ridiculous thing you can recall, gold drops $35 for no reason. Part of it, gold been going up with the dollar going up because of the Brexit concern. So all of a sudden, ironically enough, the dollar starts getting hit and they attack gold and silver in an incredible reversal, technically ruining everything, stopping it cold, and they're all happy. And yet, with all of that, I don't think I've ever seen this before. As the day wore on, gold would move back up and drag silver with it and kept going up and back up, and went from 1278 on an access market close the night before back to touching 1300 late Friday afternoon. That is just unheard of when you watch this stuff like I do all the time, and incredibly bullish, for it showed that the bad guys, as I call them, are in deep trouble. So it's a very exciting time for those involved in the gold and silver market, and some other things we'll get into, but some difficulties to overcome. But boy, it's all there.
And in that manipulation that you're seeing, are you seeing a shift? Because there's clearly been a breakout of price action, and as you pointed out, that hasn't been allowed, it hasn't been permitted for the last 5 years. So are you seeing different tactics, or tactics that are tried but failing in the manipulation directly, the way that you guys observe the actual tactics that are being used in manipulation?
Well, it all stems from, again, this gold cartel, the group I mentioned, stopping the price action in the futures area, and they do it in the COMEX and the over-the-counter markets and so on. And this is reflected in what they call the Commitment of Traders report, which shows the so-called commercials, which is the gold cartel. It's not the big bang, and it's not the gold producers, which are normal commercials, taking on speculators that believe the price should be much higher. And you had the gold open interest when we were up to 1,300 last time, was at 608,000. It dropped to 480,000. Now it's going right back up again towards 600,000. The same is true in silver, which was open interest at all-time highs. In my opinion, it's just what I think, and I've been saying this for some time, the only way that gold and silver will ever go up again, and I really mean that, will be for a commercial signal failure. Meaning this gold cartel gets overpowered by the physical market, supported by the speculators, which forces them to retreat, and retreat dramatically to defend much higher price levels, which they don't want. And that's the potential that's staring us in the face right now, with gold back at 1,300, and silver, of course, is just struggling like crazy. They're just all over that one, and it wasn't even able to get to 1750 late Friday. But if silver takes out 18 and the bigger picture is 1850, I think the price will go bonkers because of what they've done in order to keep the price at artificially low levels. And I think it will just stun people what silver can do. They're petrified of it. It's their kryptonite. And so they're all over it. But if we see that price action, especially after what they tried to do on Friday, I mean, silver on the night before, on Thursday, in the access market, traded at 1705. So if we go up from here next week, look out.
Taking a much broader view of this, if you look at the politics of price fixing, and based on the studying and the research that you and GATA have done on who is doing the manipulation and who are calling the orders and who they have relationships with, versus what we know about Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump, is there any conclusions we can expect to continue or change if one or the other of those individuals is elected U.S. president?
Well, Bill Clinton himself, when he was president, or afterwards, said, "I didn't realize I wouldn't be running the show when I became president." And that's a quote. It's the big money and power behind the scenes that calls the shots. So I don't believe that it will make a difference who gets in there. However, the establishment wants Hillary Clinton, and for the obvious reasons. With Trump, they have no idea what they're getting and what he might do that, who knows, possibly could be different. And what strikes me now, and is so bullish for gold and silver, is that both the candidates, no matter who you're for, have the strongest negatives as a combination in the history of our political system. They're both very unliked, I mean, and very much disliked. And this has people around the world concerned for what is going on here in America. Rightly or wrongly, and that's growing it will be growing as we get closer to the election. Whoever you might want to pick, and of course the vitriolic commentary is going to grow, and I think it's going to get more people interested in protection using gold and silver. So I think no matter what, it's a huge positive for the gold silver markets.
If we could take a look at one of them at a time, though, do we know anything or have any reason to suspect anything as far as relationships? You mentioned establishment support for Hillary. Does that same establishment as the establishment that's been supporting the suppression of precious metals in favor of maintaining the status quo of the hegemony of the U.S. dollar this whole time?
Well, again, and this is important, the gold price suppression scheme, the market manipulation, is led by the Fed, the BIS in Switzerland, the Treasury Department, the big bullion banks, JP Morgan stands out, other central banks like the Bank of England. They're the ones that have been on top of this and have been this way for a couple decades. It went into high gear when Alan Greenspan and Will McDonough of the New York Fed joined the BIS against the laws of the United States at the time. They just did it. And ever since then, when Robert Rubin became Treasury Secretary, the rigging of the gold price has gone into high gear. So I don't think it will make one bit of difference behind the scenes who steps in there. Other people may, and that's great, but I just don't see it. I think what could happen, though, is that Trump is obviously more of a wild card because you don't know what this person's going to do, and it's part of his appeal to take on some of these people. But I just think it's too big and too powerful, even for a guy like Donald Trump.
And as you look at manipulation continuing, because the powers that be are bigger than these individual political candidates, what do you recommend for the individual homeowner, family member to do to watch out for the best interests of their families?
Well, as you probably would guess, I'm seriously prejudiced in that regard. But I think what happened again on Friday is so incredibly bullish when you had, a Fed governor come out who's been hawkish and talk about that he doesn't, in terms of interest rate rises, he doesn't see, only sees one interest rate rise through 2018. Are you kidding me? Are things that bad that a hawkish Fed governor would come out and make a statement like that? And I think that's the major reason that gold and silver came back the way they did on Friday. And it's gotten other people in the mainstream that are really establish an oriented on CNBC and other kind of people to talk about the Fed throwing in the towel. That's a quote. Oh my gosh, what could be more bullish for gold and silver than that? And as that line of thinking takes hold, it's going to create greater demand for the physical markets in gold and silver. And I think we have some volatile moves in the upside coming in the near future.
Well, Bill, people who want to follow your research and advice and stay in sight with stay in tune with the insight that you provide, where can they follow you on the web?
Well, thanks. First of all, you mentioned GATA, the Gold Antitrust Action Committee. Can follow what Chris Powell does free by signing up there, www.gata.org. And I write a commentary every day about gold and silver and some other stuff, and at themetropolcafe.com, and they can sign up for a 2-week free trial and see if that's of interest.
And before we end it, is there any additional thoughts that this conversation has led you to that you'd like to share with our viewers?
Well, I think that the punctuation mark might go that if silver can take out 1850, I think it's going to lead to a move for various reasons because of what they have done to keep this price down at ridiculously low levels. It will show a sign of a loss of control by the gold cartel, the J.P. Morgan crowd. And if we can take out 1850, the move is going to be much more volatile to the upside than we saw even in 2011 when it went from 16, 18 up to 50. And I think 50 will be taken out as we go on, and we'll shoot for 100. And I think that's definitely in the cards.
Well, Bill Murphy, co-founder of GATA.org and La Metropole Cafe, thanks again for joining us here on Reluctant Preppers.
My pleasure.